story.
To my younger self, what's your
To
story?
my younger self.
To 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 my younger self. To my younger self.
To my younger self. What's your story? To my younger self. What's your story?
Well, hello and good morning. It is such a wonderful time to be here. Today is, of course, August 30th, and it is a wonderful day. I look like I slept with a hanger in my mouth because today is an exciting day. It's a day where we get to launch one of the most important books in the world, but with a twist. And so please stay tuned, and we're going to just jump right in. Like we always do on To My Younger Self, let's see who is here. Good morning to you, Beverly. I see you. Wow. Good morning, my friend. Abba, so excited. Yes, yes, yes. Listen, for everyone who is watching us all over the continent of Africa, we want you to greet us like we always do in our local dialects because Africans are communal people. We always say on here. So greet me in your local dialect. I do want to hear from you. I want to say welcome to each and every one of you that is joining us. I see Dr. Viv is here already. I see Ama Ke Ichampong is here, and a few other people already. So it's gonna be a good day, I promise. It's gonna be a good day, okay? Alrighty, let's load up and go say a few greetings from all over Africa. We're gonna come back, do a little opening, and we'll be good. Listen, Baraka Dazua to you. Where are you watching us from? If you're watching us in any part of Africa and you speak Hausa, I greet you. Baraka Dazua, Sanunku Dazua, ya Yade, ya Kakwana Lafia. I hope you slept well. Ya Ken, Tuma, Fuduwela, Tuma Awela. I just greeted you in the Kusal dialect, which is my mother tongue. There is something to be said about reading and speaking and praying in our mother tongues, right? In Dinao to you, if you speak Ewe, I greet you from the Volta region of Ghana, Etiseng, Akwaba. If you speak Twi, I am greeting you. Saubonani to you, to our Zulu speaking friends in South Africa, of course. Ibela to you, Ibiokibari to you. If you speak Moshi, I just greeted you. Te Oyo Tang to our Ga speaking friends, of course. Ekaro to you if you are in Nigeria. Ekabo, I greet you. Nagadev to you, to our love speaking friends. Jambo, Habari Gani. I know Kenyans are watching us. Everyone at Moran Publishers, we greet you. Jambo to you. Habari Gani. Habari Yawe Subwe, we greet you. Iyaure to you. If you speak Luo, we are greeting you. Kotong to you. Amohelan to you. If you speak Sesotho, we are so grateful that you are here. To our Fulani people, if you speak Fufoldi, we greet you. Kotolii to you. Bom dia, if you speak Portuguese, of course, bonjour, buongiorno, buenos dias, and of course, imaraba to you. We are so happy to see you. Today is a fantastic day. Let me just jump in and let us introduce this incredible thing we're doing today. So we all know that To My Younger Self, it is an oral storytelling platform. We invite people to come in here and tell us stories, right? But today's a little different because we are gathered here as Africans and storytellers all around the world to launch a book that has meant so much to me on my personal journey. And I know to a lot of you who will be watching us right now or maybe even later in the week, because most Africans do that according to our timeline, right? We're here to launch this book. And so To My Younger Self tells oral stories. But today we are here to talk about the technicalities that go into putting a story in written form. But not only that, putting a story in written form in your mother tongue. It's gonna get good. I promise you. I promise you. There is this part that we never ever get to see. It is the blood, it is the sweat, it is the tears of the translators, of the editors, of the publishers that are translating a book from an original state, maybe even a second original state. Because this book we're talking about has been translated into over 60 different languages. The special thing about today is finally Africa gets to be part of this very, very impactful book, right? So it's not going to be business as usual. It's going to still be very, very good. I promise you. I promise you. All righty. I'm going to just jump in and introduce to you our very first, I don't want to call him guest. He is our very first collaborator. Let's put it that way, because he is more than a guest, right? And his name is Mr. Ali Attas. In fact, he collaborated with a couple of people at Moran Publishers to bring this body of work together. And we're talking about The Alchemist, written by Paulo Coelho many, many years ago, originally in Portuguese, of course, now in English. And some of us got to read it, got very, very impacted by it. And now Mr. Ali Attas has translated it into Swahili. Mr. Attas has worked at the HH, and please forgive me, today I will be stumbling a little bit because there's going to be a lot of Swahili words that I may end up butchering. Please forgive me. It's the West African in me, right? But he has worked at the HH, the Aga Khan Academy, a secondary school, as a language and literature teacher for a number of years. Became a Swahili editor at Oxford University and had the opportunity to oversee the first publication of a Swahili dictionary, Kamusi Sanifu. I hope I got that right. In 1985, he was recruited by the Kenya Times group of newspapers as a managing editor of the Swahili daily newspaper, Kenya Leo. I hope I said that right too. In 1986, he joined the BBC Swahili service in London as a producer, broadcaster, and news translator. In 1994, he joined Radio Japan in Tokyo as a producer, broadcaster, English script writer, and news and program translator. In 2002, Mr. Attas was recruited as an English and Swahili instructor at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where he worked for 20 years while also teaching English at the prestigious Waseda University in Tokyo. He's retired in 2022. Whoop, whoop. Here we go for retirement, but currently he's still teaching at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. From 2015 onwards, he has written over 20 Swahili stories for primary schools, 2 Swahili plays. Let's see, that is Mambandia. I hope I got that right. And Siwa by Moran Publishers. Siwa is already being taught at 2 universities, including the University of Nairobi. He is still freelancing as a radio and TV journalist for BBC Africa Service in London, as well as Deutsche Welle in Bonn, Germany. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please allow me to introduce to you Mr. Ali Attas. Hi!
Hi, thank you very much indeed, Baraka, for a glowing introduction.
It is so good to see you. My goodness. Thank you so much for being a part of this incredible history-making thing we're about to jump into, launching launching the Swahili version of The Alchemist. Let me introduce to you, before we jump into the conversation, the person who worked alongside Mr. Attas, who is, and please again, forgive me, my Swahili is not that great. But Mr. Samuel Nganga, I hope I got that right. Let me introduce him to you. And he is the editor of this incredible feat. Mr. Samuel Nganga is a senior editor at Moran Publishers and an editor of Kiswahili publications. In addition to editing, he is a book reviewer. He has written book reviews for Sunday Nation, Sunday Standard, East Africa Education Essence, magazine, and SwahiliHub.com. He is also a translator. Among the works he has translated include the short stories Samaki wa Nchi za Joto in the anthology Damu Yusu. Okay, Zoe is definitely butchering this. So please, Mr. Nganga, when you come on. Can you please correct me? But damu nyusu na hadithi. Yeah. All right, we're gonna move right along. But let's just say he is a translator and he has done incredible work. An incredible guy to work with, honestly and honest to God. Very easygoing. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Mr. Samuel Nganga. Hello, sir.
Hello, Baraka, and thank you for that impressive introduction. Actually, and actually your Swahili is not that bad. So it's the title is Damu Nyeusi na Hadithi Nyingine.
Oh, yes, you did it so much better than I would. You did it so much better than I would. Now, let us jump right in. What we have done is that because this is a launch, we have brought people from all over Africa to be a part of the reading of some of the verses or parts of the book that Mr. Attas has chosen for us. And he has also graciously kind of narrated some of those, all of those chapters or pages that he chose for us so that it can aid in our discussion, right? And so we're going to do that. But before we do that, let me ask a question to Mr. Attas. How did you come to read The Alchemist, and what was going on in or around your life at the time that you decided to write to translate The Alchemist?
Good question. Actually, for a long time, I have known the existence of Paulo Coelho's works, and especially so The Alchemist. And there comes a time in one's life that you say, this is the point at which I want to be doing something in life that will be like a legacy. And so about 7 years ago, I decided to get involved in creative writing, and I was reading a lot of literature, both in English as well as Swahili. And I also read Damu Nyeusi, by the way. And I live with my partner, my woman. She is an avid reader of books. She reads at least one book a week. And a few years ago, I think 3 or 4 years ago, she was checking what next to buy. And she was checking Amazon, and she found glowing tributes and glowing comments by readers of The Alchemist. So she bought a Japanese version of The Alchemist and read it through 2 times. And I got involved in asking her, why are you reading this so passionately? And then she started telling me, you should get the English version. And so about 2-3 years ago, I got hold of the English version, read it, and it was an amazing story. So that's how I stumbled into The Alchemist.
Wow. Let me throw that same question to Samuel then. Samuel, why or how, what was going on in your life when you decided, well, you know what, someone is translating this, I want to be an editor? Or was it something that was, just part of a job that you decided to take? What happened there for Samuel?
Oh, thank you, Baraka, for that question. Actually, how this project came to my desk rather was through the initiative of Mr. Attas. But when it comes to reading The Alchemist, I think what Mr. Ali mentioned about 7 years ago, and I wondered what a coincidence, because I think that's almost the same time that I first read the book.
Right.
But I didn't know then that I would come to encounter with it now as a project.
Wow, that is incredible. And so this is going to get very, very good. We have one of our producers, Mr. Yidana Kobigbila, who is actually trying to get into the studio. Technical Director Sumaya, if you can, I know you can hear us, so can you please maybe try to get out of the studio so Yidana can get on, if you can do that for us so that Yidana can come in and read his part of the story. Better yet, we can just go ahead and start with the Swahili version of the part that Mr. Attas picked for us. And then after that, we're going to have Yidana come on and read the English version of this. So for those of you who do not read Swahili, just hang in tight. That English version is going to come around. I promise. Okay. So here we go, guys. Let's do this together. All right. Let's see. Can everybody hear us? If you're in the audience and you cannot hear anything, we would ask you to please let us know if you can hear us. And if not, we will just go right back and pull it up. All right, let's do this. All right, here we go with Mr. Yidana. Hi, how are you?
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning, everybody.
It is so good to see you. So, Mr. Yidana Kobekila, or for many of you who have been on this show many times, you've heard me call him consistently bro uncle. He is, because he's like my brother and my uncle in one. He is one of To My Younger Self's founding members and, of course, a producer. He's also one of Ghana's highly skilled and very sought after documentary filmmakers and producers. And here he is reading for us the English narration of page 23 and 24. Go ahead, Uncle Yid.
Do I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Thank you so much, and good morning to you. So glad to be reading, pages 23, 24 of The Alchemist. And here I go. I am the king of Salem, the old man had said. Why would a king be talking with a shepherd? The boy asked, awed and embarrassed. For several reasons. But let's say that the most important is that you have succeeded in discovering your personal legend. The boy didn't know what his personal legend was. It's what you have always wanted to accomplish. Everyone, when they are young, knows what their personal legend is. At that point in their lives, everything is clear and everything is possible. They are not afraid to dream and to yearn for everything they would like to see happen to them in their lives. But as time passes, a mysterious force begins to convince them that it will be impossible for them to realize their personal legend. None of what the old man was saying made much sense to the boy, but he wanted to know what the mysterious force was. The merchant's daughter would be impressed when he told her about that. It's a force that appears to be negative, but actually shows you how to realize your personal legend. It prepares your spirit and your will, because there is one great truth on this planet. Whoever you are, or whatever it is that you do, when you really want something, is because that desire originated in the soul of the universe. It's your mission on earth. Even when all you want to do is travel, or marry the daughter of a textile merchant, yes, or even search for treasure, the soul of the world is nourished by people's happiness, and also by unhappiness, envy, and jealousy. To realize one's personal legend is a person's only real obligation. All things are one. And when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you achieve it.
Wow. The end. Wow. And today, really, it's all about the Swahili version. And so even though there is so much to unpack in this very short reading, we're going to say thank you to you. And we're going to encourage you, especially for our Swahili speaking friends, join a book club. Go to Moran Publishers or wherever Moran Publishers is selling this book or this version. Buy the version in Swahili, form book clubs, and read this in your mother tongue. I promise you, it's going to sound different. It's going to give you more packed meanings to it. Just like you just heard Yidana read the English version, and I'm sure your mind is already blown. You're going to be blown away. So we're going to say thank you to Yid. Thank you so much for joining us and reading the first version for us. And with that, we're going to let you go back into the green room whilst we bring the Swahili version of what you just read, narrated by, of course, Mr. Attas. Thank you so much, Yid. Bye-bye. Alrighty, so we're gonna go ahead and listen to the Swahili version of this that was just read. Bear with me one moment as we pull it up, and I know my technical director is working on that even right now. Can you hear us, guys?
No.
That is so interesting. Wow. Okay. As you can see, this was edited very well, and we have sound, but apparently sound has decided not to work this morning like it always happens with technology. Let us see. Let's see. We're going to be working this. In the meantime, let's do this. We're going to ask Mr. Attas another question that Mr. Samuel Nganga would still get to answer at the same time. So, Mr. Attas, what is it about the book that got your attention?
A very big question indeed. As I had said previously, the reviews of the story from various sources got my attention. The background of the author himself, Paulo Coelho, as an author of a bestseller for a long time in the US. The book was also a holder of the Guinness Book of Records for being the most translated novel in history. 88 languages, if I may say, maybe more by now. I sort of kind of retired 2 years ago, and my time is actually used mostly in creative writing. And you introduced me correctly. I have written a lot of storybooks for various levels of readership. And since then, I had a burning ambition to translate a major novel, something like the first novel of the Harry Potter series, for example. But The Alchemist, when it came into my possession, was the perfect choice. It had a universal appeal with regard to the theme of the story. We all, as we heard in the excerpt that was just read a few minutes ago, it has a universal appeal with regard to the theme of the story, and we all have dreams that we pursue, follow our personal legends until fruition, just like the main character in the book did, the young man, Santiago. And then there is something else. The book is extremely well crafted. The dream appears through many characters. Santiago has a dream of Fatima. The stone seller has a dream of making a pilgrimage to Mecca. The Englishman has a dream to meet the alchemist. And then the crafting of the story itself using symbolisms, the wind. At the beginning, you can feel the wind bringing in enemies, the Berbers and the Bedouin Arabs. And then at the end of the story, the wind appears again, carrying words of love to Fatima. Not only that, Paulo Coelho has a fantastic sense of humor that has wit. And as a former lawyer, I could understand that. The Englishman's books, for example, were such a heavy load to his camel. And then in the book, there are powerful descriptions. The horizon was tinged with red, and suddenly the sun appeared.
Yes.
dialogue towards the end between the howling wind and Santiago is an amazing description. The power of each character to read each other's thoughts, just amazing. For example, the old man, the old lady who interprets Santiago's dream at the beginning of the story. They're all powerful scenes. And then the choice of the location of the story really touched me. The Sahara Desert in mother continent Africa. So how could I not get my attention to pay to this fantastic book? I was just overtaken.
Wow. You know, if anyone has not read this book by now, they're probably
Yes.
thinking, my goodness, I should go and get this book. While that is well and good, based on Mr. Attas's answer alone, I want to advocate that, especially even if you don't speak Swahili, just listening. And I'm very, we're flabbergasted, and we're working very hard to get the sound back on the translated version, but and the narrated version. Even though I personally don't speak a lot of Swahili, listening to Mr. Attas read those, those passages in Swahili was something to behold. It is almost as if your ship had come home. It is home. So yes, get the book if you want to really understand it. But if you really want to live the book, you want to get it in the Swahili version. If not for anything, just so you can be a part of a movement that defied all odds and said, I too have a book in Swahili, The Alchemist. Do you get what I mean? Exactly. And so, Mr. Nganga, how about I just call you Samuel?
That's fine with me.
I think I'll just call you Samuel. So
And call me Ali as well.
thank you for that. I truly appreciate that. So, Samuel, for you, describe the process it took to become an editor on this project. What was the process like? Were you working with words? How challenging was it for you? What were some of the words that you saw in English and said, "Oh my God, what's the version of this word in Swahili, and how do I come about it?"
Thank you very much, Baraka, for that question. And let me briefly describe the process, because is it translation? I think of any material follows almost a similar process. But when it came to editing the translated version of The Alchemist, we had first to go back to the original text, not here the original, because we know the original was written in Portuguese, but the English version. So we had to read that version critically, and then in the second step was now to read independently the translated version from Mr. Ali. So that that reading of the translated version was really to feel the flow of the story, and to assess how truly free the translator stuck with the original text. Then came the third step, that of substantive editing, and here it involved the editing of the content to ensure that the gist of the story is not lost. And we kept on going back to the original text to verify phrases here and there, and of course the messages. For instance, when it came to the personal legend, how do you put it in Kiswahili, and so on and so forth. Then, of course, the fourth step was now engaging another editor, a neutral editor who looked at the edited version and vis-a-vis the original version, and there that was actually like to confirm that we were spot on when it came to editing the translated version. And of course, now the fifth now was the proofreading, whereby now we wanted to ensure that everything is in place, no spelling mistakes and all that. And definitely towards the end, we had to give the copy to Mr. Ali himself, the translator, to to confirm that actually we didn't butcher his work.
Right.
Yes, so simply the process that we undertook. But of course, with the work of translation comes with its challenges, especially when you consider that the original work is treated in a different culture from the receiving language. And here, I think I have to commend Mr. Ali for the quality translation that he did, because I wouldn't say that we encountered much challenges, but definitely we could see that here and there maybe there were instances where maybe we lacked a word in Swahili. For instance, the weed that blew from Africa, the elevanta. I think I think no, that one we thought it actually right to retain it the way it is, but definitely use italics.
Right.
Yes,
Wow.
and of course we have the desert features like the sand dunes. How do you call that in Swahili? And considering that the Swahili culture, doesn't have maybe such, and therefore in this to go around those challenges, we had to combine both the word for word translation and the explanatory approach. So basically, that's how we overcame the challenges. But I would say I can say there were not many, thanks to the work that Mr. Ali did.
Wow. Wow.
Thank you.
That is so interesting to me, because I thought, even in the English version, I didn't know what that word was. I had to find a dictionary and try to figure it out, so I can understand for sure what that was, how to get the Swahili version or the Swahili word of the lavender, for example. I see there's a lot of you on here. Oh my goodness. Listen, especially those of you from Moran Publishers, we welcome you very warmly. For those of you also at I hope Gemma is here. I wanted to take time to say a warm welcome to Gemma, who has been the gelling oil for all of this happening, especially this launch. So I hope you are here. We're going to go into the second reading. And for those of you who are in backstage with me, please bear with me, okay? I'm going to bring to us a young woman whose name is Michelle, who is going to read the English version for us. Let me introduce you to Michelle. Michelle Adam is a young woman I have grown to incredibly admire. She is gifted with her hands and also with gumption. I mean, all you have to do is speak to her. As young as she is, I really wish that when I was her age, I had such gumption. Can I just say I am also very, very proud of her and the young woman she's growing up to be. She has agreed to read for us the English version of it, and this is going to be in page 2, narration 2, and it's going to be in page 26. Michelle, where are you? I just saw you, and I do not know where you went. Where are you, my dear? All right, and if she's not here, we're going to move right along. There we are. Hi, Michelle. Michelle, can you hear us? Michelle, can you hear us? Okay, so for some reason we cannot hear Michelle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what we always do. We improvise and we keep it moving. I'm going to read this myself. I'm a young woman too, right? So let us go. This is English narration number 2, page 26. The old man related that the week before, he had been forced to appear before a miner and had taken the form of a stone. The miner had abandoned everything to go mining for emeralds. For 5 years, he had been working a certain river and had examined hundreds of thousands of stones looking for an emerald. The miner was about to give it all up, right at the point when, if he were to examine just one more stone, just one more, he would find his emerald. Since the miner had sacrificed everything to his personal legend, the old man decided to become involved. He transformed himself into a stone that rolled up to the miner's foot. The miner, with all the anger and frustration of his 5 fruitless years, picked up the stone and threw it aside. But he had thrown it with such force that it broke the stone it fell upon, and there, embedded in the broken stone, was the most beautiful emerald in the world. My goodness. My goodness, it kind of makes you just sit up and think. Every time you feel like I want to give up, you tell yourself, let me give it one more try. Perhaps the miner or the old man would be showing up, right? Okay, so we're going to now try to play the Swahili version that was translated by Ali. Let's try this again. I'm told it is fixed, so let's try this again. Wow. So everyone in the studio tells me they can hear me, but I can't hear anything that we're being played. There may be some forces saying, nope, not today. You cannot hear the Swahili version of this. This is incredibly, wow. All right, we're going to try this a different way. Let's see. We're going to see. So we're going to take this off. Wow. And whilst it is loading and it's almost done, we'll see how we're going to play this. Out. Okay, this has been interesting. It looks like our personal legends today has refused, even though we did a simulation and did dry runs. We even did a dry run this morning. But apparently, our personal legend is not to hear anything in Swahili today, and I do not know why. We're going to give it one more try.
Kiswahili narration 2, pages 23-24. Yule mzee mkongwe alihadithia jinsi wiki iliyotangulia alivyolazimika kuibuka kabla ya mchimba migodi mmoja, akijitokeza katika umbo la jabali. Mchimba migodi huyo alikuwa ametupilia mbali kila kitu ili ajizamishe kwenye uchimbaji wa mawe ya zumaridi. Kwa miaka 5 alichimba kwenye mto fulani na alichimbua maelfu ya mawe akisaka zumaridi. Mchimba migodi huyo alijikuta njia panda akikaribia mno kususia ule uchimbaji. Yaani alifikia mahali ambapo akichunguza jiwe moja tu zaidi angegundua zumaridi. Kwa kuwa mchimba migodi huyo alikuwa ametolea mhanga kila kitu kijifunge na kudura yake ya kibinafsi, mzee huyo mkongwe akaamua kuuzamia mkabala huo wa mchimba migodi. Alijigeuza kuwa jiwe la thamani ambalo lilibingirika hadi wayoni mwa mchimba migodi huyo. Yule mchimba migodi akijaa povu la ghadhabu na usumbufu wa miaka 5 ya jitihada, akaambulia patupu. Aliliokota lile jiwe akalitupilia mbali kando, ila nguvu kubwa aliyoitumia katika utupaji wa lile jiwe ukalifanya livunje jiwe jingine, na ndani ya lile jiwe lilovunjika kito cha zumaridi kilikuwa kiking'aa kwa uzuri na mvuto wa ajabu ulioshinda zumaridi yoyote ile iliyopatikana duniani. Watu hujifunza wakati wa umri wao mchanga sababu ya uhai wao duniani, alitamka yule mzee kwa uchungu.
Wow. Wow. Oh, you know, some people are saying in the chat room, for example, Rael Adam says, it is so great hearing Swahili. Abba says, I don't speak Swahili, but it sounds so rhythmic and calming. Elsie says, our personal legend course-corrected and showed up. Yes, it did. Doris says, oh, Swahili is beautiful. Enroll me. It looks like some people are already planning to be enrolled in Swahili school, so they're saying, please enroll me too, Elsie. Thank you so much, Ali, for doing that narration. That was so powerful. And it's so funny how African languages are so intertwined, because the one word I heard in this whole reading was the word dunya. And dunya, I know, and dunya in Hausa means world, right?
That's right.
Sure,
That's right.
it is.
And I said, whoa, I heard one word. I know what he said. All righty. So we're going to go to the next question for you, Ali. Let me pull it up and let's see. It says here for Ali, how long after you had read the book did you, but I think you've already answered this question because you told us, you retired. That was 2 years ago. So we're going to not even go into that. You already answered that. But after you decided to translate the book, what were the first things you did? Describe the process a little bit, not into detail, but just a little bit.
Actually, there are many, many things I did, but I will tell maybe the 4 most important. I actually studied Paulo Coelho to understand his character and psychology.
Wait, what?
Yes, that was my first homework. And then I started researching, trying to understand him as a Christian through regular posts on social media, Facebook, Twitter, his life biography, background as a lawyer, hence his mastery of logic and philosophic dialogues. Read the novel twice, trying to understand how he narrated and plotted his story in a Christian country running through Islamic terrain, Morocco, the Sahara Desert, and to the pyramids in Egypt. And then the storyline, a European Christian boy, Santiago, has a burning dream to fulfill his love for a Muslim desert girl, Fatima. I am a writer of many short novels. I like to craft my stories mathematically. The Alchemist is a story that has been written by a lawyer author who crafted his story mathematically. Okay.
Wow, I am so blown away because in all of the, and I can say I've studied him, but not in this detail. All I have done is read a couple of his books. But now, knowing he's a lawyer and all that stuff, that's incredible. And it speaks to the dedication you brought to the table. This is why hearing the Swahili version as you read it is so powerful, because you read it with so much feeling. It's so power packed because you understand from where you come from, like how you started this and why you think this book is so important to be translated into Swahili. For Samuel, let me ask you, what were your personal joys and challenges during the editing process, which you've answered a little bit. So let me add on to this. Which of the characters is in the book did you identify with the most? I know this is a fun question for Samuel.
Yes, it is indeed fun. And actually, I don't know whether this was the same case with Ali, but I think I identified most with the King of Salem. That's Melchizedek. Yes, actually, because the King of Salem first comes, he comes in as a distraction. Because you remember when Santiago when he approached Santiago, and he was like distracting his reading. Santiago was almost dismissing him as a vagabond or somebody who's just trying to look for something to do. And therefore, I was struck when actually he comes out as the voice of the author. He's the person who pronounces the main idea in the book. That's of the personal legend. And of course, towards the end, he tells us about the greatest lie in the world, that there's something like fate. So to me, that's what actually made me mostly identify with this wise old man.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. And just a follow-up questions, going back to the editing process, I know you worked with a team. Were there some words that maybe two editors said, this is the word, and another editor says, no, that's not the word. And you had to go into the etymology of the Swahili version and try, look for an old person or an old woman somewhere and say, hey, what is the origin of this word? Try to, get the authenticity of it.
Yes, we had such instances, and really it helps to work with a team. For instance, previously I mentioned about some elements found in the original version, and which are not in the receiving language. For instance, I said like in the Swahili culture, we don't have, for instance, deserts, and therefore elements like the sand dunes, and the oasis, these are they are kind of alien, and therefore we had to look for appropriate words to use there. And therefore, in some instances, we did came up with words, and in others, we felt it's safe to use explanations.
Wow.
Yes, we had such instances where we had to come together and find a way out.
Resolving. Wow.
Yes.
To be a fly on the wall in those meeting rooms. Seriously, now I'm thinking, what is sun dune in my native tongue? I don't know. What is an oasis in my native tongue? I don't know. I believe it's a Japanese philosopher, and Ali, you can correct me if I'm wrong, who once said that when we speak another man's language, we imbibe his thoughts and his ideas. And so therefore, it is hard to translate another man's language into our own language. You know what I mean? So I'm so excited about that we found a way around it to make the story our own in Swahili. That is incredible. And with that, let's move the conversation along. I'm going to bring another English reader here, and this is what should I say? This is a challenge to all of us out there in Africa. Let us not. Mr. Ali has set a standard, and he has set. He's become a pace setter. This book of international value that he's translated into Swahili, and I'm not necessarily saying that we want a lot of other languages of the same book, but let us start writing and describing things in our mother tongue. So if you're not a Swahili speaker, but you are, say, let's choose mine, you are a Hausa speaker, then pick another book and translate it in Hausa. Let us begin to read our words to ourselves, if that helps, right? Alrighty, so our next English reader is Dr. Vivian Yako. Dr. Viv, as I have her, I call her, is one of the most fun doctors I know. When you go to visit a doctor, it's not always fun, but she's one of the fun ones I know. She is not your typical doctor who loves to sit behind a desk all day. Okay, she likes to get out into the world and ask the world questions, probe, and perhaps every once in a while even catch the universe winking back at her, to borrow producer Elsie's words, with an answer. And so she's going to come on and read to us the English narration between pages 67 and 68. All right. Dr. Vivian, how are you doing?
I'm well. How are you all?
It is so good to see you, and thank you for your yes. Take us away, ma'am.
Thank you. The English narration 3, pages 67 and 68. The Englishman was sitting on a bench in a structure that smelled of animals, sweat, and dust. It was part warehouse, part coral. I never thought I'd end up in a place like this, he thought, as he leafed through the pages of a chemical journal. 10 years at the university, and here I am in a coral. But he had to move on. He believed in omens.
She's a doctor. People are looking
He believes
for her.
in omens. Sorry.
That's what important people.
I am sorry. But he had moved on. He believed in omens. All his life and all his studies were amazed at finding the one true language of the universe. First, he had studied Esperanto, then the world's religions, and now it's alchemy. He knew how to speak Esperanto. He understood all the major religions well, but he wasn't yet an alchemist. He had unraveled the truths behind important questions, but his studies had taken him to a point beyond which he could not seem to go. He had tried in vain to establish a relationship with an alchemist. But the alchemists were strange people who thought only about themselves and almost always refused to help him. Who knows, maybe he had failed to discover the secret of the masterwork, the philosopher's stone, and for his reason kept their knowledge to themselves. He had already spent much of the fortune left to him by his father, fruitlessly seeking the philosopher's stone. He had spent enormous amounts of time at the great libraries of the world and had purchased all the rarest and most important volumes on alchemy. In one, he had read that many years ago, a famous Arabian alchemist had visited Europe. It was said that he was more than 200 years old and that he had discovered the philosopher's stone and the elixir of life. The Englishman was impressed by the story, but he would never have thought it more than just a myth. Had not a friend of his returning from an archaeological expedition in the desert told him about an Arab that was possessed of exceptional powers. He lives at Al Fayoum Oasis, his friend had said, and people say that he is 200 years old and is able to transform any metal into gold.
Oh my goodness. I'm kind of wishing you could just go on and on and on. Thank you so much for reading so wonderfully. We know you're busy, so we're going to say thank you to you, and we're going to go and hear the Swahili version of what you just read. Thank you, Dr. Vivian. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye. All right, we're going to jump in and let's see. Maybe our personal legend will be good to us this time again. This is narration number 3 by Ali.
Kiswahili narration 3, pages 66, 67. Bwana Mwingereza mmoja alikuwa amekalia benchi katika boma ambalo lilinuka uvundo wa nyama, jasho na vumbi. Lilikuwa nusu ghala, nusu zizi. Sikuwahi hata siku moja kufikiria kwamba siku moja ningeishia mahali kama hapa, alitamka huku akisoma ukurasa mmoja hadi mwingine wa jarida la kemia. Miaka 10 ya masomo katika chuo kikuu yameishia hapa kwenye jengo hili lenye uvundo wa nyama. Lakini ilimbidi ajikakamue na kusonga mbele. Alikuwa na imani juu ya ishara. Maisha yake yote na masomo yake yote yalilenga shabaha ya kugundua lugha moja halisi ya ulimwengu. Kwanza alijifunza Esperanto, kisha alizimudu dini za dunia, na sasa alkemia. Alikicharaza Esperanto, akamudu vyema dini zote kuu za dunia, lakini bado hakuhitimu kama Mualkemia. Alifanikisha ufumbuzi wa vitendawili vilivyogubika hoja muhimu, lakini masomo yake yalimfikisha njia panda isiyovukika. Alijaribu bila kufua dafu ajenge uhusiano na Mualkemia, lakini Waalkemia walikuwa watu wenye maumbile mageni, watu ambao walijifikiria wenyewe na karibu daima walikataa kumsaidia. Nani ajuaye? Labda Waalkemia walishindwa kugundua siri ya kazi kuu tukufu, jiwe la mwanafilosofia, na kwa sababu hiyo wakabania maarifa yao kwao binafsi. Tayari alikwisha tumia fungu kubwa la mali aliyorithi kutoka kwa baba yake, akisaka bila mafanikio jiwe la mwanafilosofia. Alitumia wakati mwingi katika maktaba nyingi maarufu za duniani, na alinunua vitabu vyote muhimu sana na vilivyokuwa nadra mno kupatikana juu ya taaluma ya alkemia. Katika kitabu kimoja alichokisoma miaka mingi iliyopita, Mualkemia mashuhuri wa Kiarabu alikuwa amezuru bara la Ulaya. Ilisemekana kwamba umri wake ulipindukia miaka 200 na kwamba yeye aliligundua jiwe la mwanafilosofia na kioevu cha maisha. Hadithi hiyo ilimvutia sana yule bwana Mwingereza, lakini asingefikiria kuipa uzito ila kuichukulia kama kisasili tu au hadithi, kama isingekuwa rafiki yake aliyerejea kutoka safari ya kuchimbua mambo ya elimu kale jangwani na kumwambia juu ya Mwarabu ambaye alikuwa na kipaji cha nguvu za ajabu. Anaishi katika jicho la Al-Fayyum, rafiki yake alimdokeza, na watu wanasema ana umri wa miaka 200 na ana uwezo wa kugeuza chuma chochote kikageuka.
Oh, goodness. I really don't want it to end. I hear it over and over. My goodness. Thank you so much for that. Let us jump into the last two questions because I know a lot of you, both of you are very, very busy people and you have to go. But so Ali, for you, why is it important that this book be translated into Swahili and other African languages for that matter?
First of all, I wanted to get back to what Samuel was saying regarding the difficulties of translation. Mm-hmm. Honestly speaking, I must say that having worked with the BBC for almost 10 years, translating news every day, so you can imagine 4 hours, 5 hours a day, and then working at the Radio Japan for 5 years, and translating an enormous amount of work. It was only proper for me to do a good translation of this book. And I must say, I came to the right person, Samuel Nganga, whom I have been working with on other creative work projects, as well as appreciating the amount of fineness, the final refinements that he and his editorial team did to the Alchemist translation. Asante sana.
Karibu.
Yeah, so to answer your question, having worked with the BBC for 10 years, as I said, I felt a burning ambition to share and test my accumulated experience at the BBC and Radio Japan, to share the richness of translation, the skill, the choice to demonstrate the skills required in concept translatability, that this book shall be used at the academic level as an exemplary work of quality translation. Not to mention that one. We, I think, already have seen the beauty and the power of this novel. So to share this beauty, the power, the philosophy of the King of Salem, who was also our favorite character, by the way, in Swahili, would be something that would give me as a translator some gratification. And then finally to say that as a native speaker and as a native translator, I wanted to show the power of the Swahili language as a Bantu language, that it has the power to reach all the Latin and English concepts that were in Paulo Coelho's book into Swahili, and that I hoped that the Swahili version would read even better than the English version. These were all part of the ambitions that I had. Finally, this was a global phenomena in the world of novels that set a world record. And for me, this would have been the best legacy to leave my Swahili readers for life.
Wow, and you have said it so well indeed. This is a legacy. It is groundbreaking. It is history making. And it is my hope that for hundreds of years down the line, when people are mentioning names and say, this is the first person to have done such and such, they will say, Ali Attas did this as the first timer. And then people will get to learn from you. That is so incredible. And thank you for the love of Africa and also for languages. Samuel, let me ask you.
Yes.
Again, I'm going to throw that question to you as an editor, because Ali answered the question as a translator. So why do you think it's important that The Alchemist be translated and edited in Swahili for you?
Thank you, Baraka, for that question. And I think I will start answering by quoting one of our renowned scholars, Professor Gugi wa Thiong'o.
Yes.
Yes, actually, from Gugi's perspective, translation is a common language of languages, in that languages dialogue through translation, and therefore translation becomes a kind of, rather facilitates intercultural communication or cultural exchange. And therefore, I look at translation as a bridge, that helps people, or rather readers from one culture, to access the culture, a different culture. And that's exactly what we've done in facilitating this process of seeing that The Alchemist is accessible to Kiswahili readers. So in this, you also find that when you read a book written in a language that's closer to you, it becomes more relatable. And I think that's what we have. That's a chance that we have afforded our Kiswahili readers. And therefore, as Ali said, these are actually historical. And at Moran, we are proud that we did this. And therefore, Kiswahili readers, and we invite them to read the Alchemist, now Mualkemia in Kiswahili, and feel the joy of experiencing the caravan through the Sahara Desert, another and other experiences in this rich and simple book.
Right.
So
Wow.
yeah, I think that's how I would answer it.
Thank you so much. And as you just said the caravan, I thought, you know what? The safari, it's almost like going on a journey in the safari. People make it sound like it is so much fun and you are just, looking at animals on the way and all that. But it is a dangerous journey. It's just like going through, the desert trying to get to the pyramids of Egypt, So anyway, I thought I would just put that there. And we are almost done. We have 2 more readings, and I'm going to bring another young man who is part of the To My Younger Self team to read us reading number 4. Let me read just a little bit about Abu to you. Abu is a highly skilled project and logistics manager who loves to read and philosophize about events affecting the world. He has been a part of the To My Younger Self team, and he's always chosen to work very quietly behind the scenes, but very diligently as our talent acquisitions manager. He definitely took he took a liking to this, and this is why he's actually even here, because he never ever shows his face on camera for anything. He's not even on social media. This is how you know that the Swahili translation has power. It drew someone who loves to live his life under the radar to come out and read for us. And so let me bring to you our acquisitions manager, To My Younger Self, Mr. Abu Al Isa Osmanu. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Zoe Baraka, for this opportunity. And hello to everyone, and hello to the viewers.
Hi.
I'm going to be reading The Alchemist, the English version, and I'm reading page 94 to 96.
Yes.
So this is the beginning of the Fatima story, by the way. Finally, a young woman approached who was not dressed in black. She had a vessel on her shoulder, and her head was covered by a veil, but her face was uncovered. The boy approached her to ask about the alchemist. At that moment, it seemed to him that time stood still, and the soul of the world surged within him. When he looked into her dark eyes and saw that her lips were poised between a laugh and silence, he learned the most important part of the language that all the world spoke. The language that everyone on earth capable of understanding in their heart. It was love. Something older than humanity, more ancient than the desert. Something that exerted the same force whenever 2 pairs of eyes met, as had theirs here at the well. She smiled, and that was certainly an omen. The omen he had been awaiting without even knowing he was for all his life. The omen he had sought to find with his sheep, in his books, in the crystals, and in the silence of the desert. It was the pure language of the world. It required no explanation, just as the universe needs none as it travels through endless time. What the boy felt at that moment was that he was in the presence of the only woman in his life, and that with no need for words, she recognized the same thing. He was more certain of it than of anything in the world. He had been told by his parents and grandparents that he must fall in love and really know a person before becoming committed. But maybe people who felt that way had never learned the universal language. Because when you know that language, it's easy to understand that someone in the world awaits you, whether it's in the middle of the desert or in some great city. And when two such people encounter each other and their eyes meet, the past and the future become unimportant. There is only that moment and the incredible certainty that everything under the sun has been written by one hand only. It is the hand that evokes love and creates a twin soul for every person in the world. Without such love, one's dreams will have no meaning. Mark II taught the boy. Thank you.
Wow, it is written indeed. It is written indeed. Thank you so much for reading so beautifully. And for the first time, we get to see what you actually look like. Hello, Internet. This is what he looks like. Thank you. Thank you so much, Abdul. We'll see you backstage, sir. Wow. And now we're going to move forward and hear the translated version of what we just read. Didn't it sound like a beautiful love story that you just wanted to live in? You just wanted to live in that. And then I said, where do they make men like Santiago? Where are they? All righty. So here is Mr. Attas narrating to us. And yes, we decided to showcase his face because he has done an incredible job. And he is smiling as always in this picture. So here we go with the narration.
Kiswahili narration 4 pages 96-98. Hatimaye msichana mmoja alikaribia ambaye hakuvalia buibui. Alibeba chombo begani na uso wake ulifunikwa na mtandio, lakini hakujifunika sura. Santiago alimkaribia amuulize juu ya yule Mualkemia. Muda ule ule ulionekana kama akrabu za saa zimeganda, na roho kuu ya ulimwengu ilimbubujika moyoni mwake. Macho yake yalipotua juu ya macho meusi ya yule msichana na kuona kwamba midomo yake imechuchumia kati ya kicheko na ukimya. Alijifunza sehemu muhimu kabisa ya lugha iliyozungumzwa na walimwengu wote, lugha ambayo kila mtu duniani aliweza kuifahamu katika chembe cha moyo wake. Ilikuwa mapenzi. Kitu kilichokuwa kikongwe kuliko binadamu, chenye ukale uliopindukia jangwa, kitu kilichotumia kani ile ile kila jozi mbili za macho zilipokutana, kama ilivyosadifu macho yao pale kisimani. Sura yake yule msichana ilikunjuka kwa tabasamu. Hiyo hakika ikiwa ni ishara aliyokuwa akiisubiri Santiago, bila kutanabahi kwamba alikuwa amechovywa katika kumbo hilo kwa maisha yake yote. Ishara aliyotafuta kuwapata kondoo wake, na katika vitabu vyake, ndani ya mawe ya kioo, na katika tando la kimya lilotanda jangwani. Ilikuwa lugha iliyotakasika ya lugha ya dunia. Haikuhitaji ufafanuzi kama vile ulimwengu kutohitajia kitu, ukiabiri kupitia mpwito wa wakati unaopita milele. Kile alichohisi Santiago wakati ule ni kwamba alikuwa mbele ya mwanamke pekee katika maisha yake, na kwamba bila kuhitaji maneno, mwanamke huyo kijana alitambua mawimbi yale yale ya hisia. Santiago alikuwa na uhakika kabisa wa mawimbi hayo ya hisia kuliko kitu chochote kingine duniani. Aliambiwa na wazazi wake na mababu zake kwamba lazima ajitose katika dimbwi la mapenzi na afahamu hulka mpenzi wake kwa kina kabla ya kujitia pingu ya usuhuba. Lakini labda watu waliohisi hivyo walikuwa kamwe hawajajifunza lugha ya kilimwengu, kwa sababu ukiimudu lugha hiyo ni rahisi kuelewa kwamba kuna binadamu duniani anayekusubiri, iwe katikati ya jangwa au katika mji mkuu fulani. Na wakati watu wawili kama hao wakikutana na macho yao kushikana, yaliyopita na yajayo yanakuwa si muhimu. Kilichopo ni mpwito wa wakati ule na ule uhakika wa ajabu kwamba kila kitu kilichoko chini ya jua ni majaliwa yaliyosukwa na mkono mmoja. Ni mkono ambao unaamsha hisia za mapenzi na kuumba roho pacha kwa kila mtu duniani. Bila mapenzi kama hayo, ndoto hazingekuwa na maana. Maktub, Santiago aliwaza.
Oh my goodness. Someone was sleeping. Doris says, this is close to a lullaby. I'm seeing people clapping. Gemma is here, and Gemma, you're welcome to the show. My goodness, Gemma says, Mr. Tess, and we're not going to say that, we're going to say Samuel. For bringing Swahili edition of The Alchemist out. And Gemma is actually part of the agency that is the agent for Mr. Coelho. And I'll tell you a little bit about Gemma later. But it has been a pleasure to follow the program live and to go in deep details about this edition. And she goes on to say some other incredible things. But she says, thank you all for your enthusiasm. Gemma, thank you so much for making this happen. My goodness. Ali, you read so beautifully. Yes, you know, our producer says it is so soothing, and maybe this is you taking on another feat and another project and saying, I will read this in the you know, give it an audio version for our Swahili readers. I would go to sleep just listening to it. And there is a request, Mr. Ali, can you please do an audio version? There we go. I think it will go very, very well. My goodness. Our very last question of the day before we officially launch this great, great book. For you as a translator, we're going to end with you, Ali, is this. What are you hoping Swahili readers around the world will gain by reading books in their mother tongue?
I would have said that, honestly speaking, translation is not only, as someone said about the famous writer Ngugi wa Thiong'o, who was, by the way, my teacher at the university.
Wow!
And I would say that reading in your native language, you know, touches your heart. It enriches your literature. It shares the dreams of the, you know, global writers like Paulo Coelho. And we are not detached from the rest of the world. And the African Union has set up a fund to invest in translation work, recognizing the importance of translation, not only of English into Swahili or other languages, but also African languages. In other words, from Hausa to Swahili, from Swahili to Hausa, and so on. And I hope that this will be our next dream.
Wow. This is so incredible. I mean, and I think there's just something to be said about the auditory version of it, because we are, as Africans, we're mainly oral people. We like to speak to each other. I see in the comment section with the audience that the audio version is highly popular, and I'm throwing a challenge to both you, Ali, and of course to Moran, that maybe it is time we jumped on this and definitely work on an audio version right away. And I'm going to throw this, to Samuel, being that you are with Moran Publishers. Where can people who want to, if not only to read the book, but just to own it? I find that sometimes just owning something, even if you can't read it, just owning it is gracious. Where can we find the Swahili version of this book?
Thank you, Baraka, once again. This book is available in local bookshops in Kenya, but again, globally. If you visit our website www.moranpublishers.com, you can purchase that book online through the cart, and therefore it's available, and we will organize on how it can reach you.
Right.
Therefore, if you make inquiries about owning the book, we can always facilitate that. So our sales team are ready for such orders, and we'll be glad to serve them.
Fantastic. And I'm sure plans are underway to even make it more global, where we get to, for those of us who live, in the Western Hemisphere, to kind of be able to get it if, it goes on other platforms. And we're not going to mention some other platforms here, but wherever books are sold in the Western Hemisphere, maybe plans are underway to get it. And of course, to our West African readers, I see Dr. Vivian says, I wish West Africa will come together and adopt a common language. And this is not a conversation we're going to go into today. We're going to bring out our last reader and, of course, listen to our last translation. I think it is very, very important that the last voice we hear today is the voice of Ali reading the Alchemist in Swahili. But before we do that, we're going to bring on our last English reader, certainly not the least. It is because she loves the Alchemist so much that we decided to give her the last say. She is an incredible, incredible young woman. Ama Kwatima is a wound nurse practitioner, wellness advocate who loves eating. Can you believe that? Who likes to eat? She loves eating, hiking, and travel adventure. She is also a young woman I have come to admire greatly over the last few months as we bonded in our book club. We got together in a book club, and we have read The Alchemist. In fact, we're still reading it. And so she's filled with verve and laughter and a spirit of incredible strength. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome this beautiful, incredible woman, Amakwatima, as she helps us in the closing. Hi, beautiful. How are you?
Hello. I'm pretty good. Good morning. Hi. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be reading this last version. I'll be reading from pages 112 to 114. Suddenly, he heard a thundering sound, and he was thrown to the ground by a wind such as he had never known. The area was swirling and dust so intense that it hid it from the moon from view. Before him was an enormous white horse, rearing over him with a frightening scream. When the blinding dust had settled a bit, the boy trembled at what he saw. Astride the animal was a horseman dressed completely in black, with a falcon perched on his left shoulder. He wore a turban, and his entire face, except for his eyes, was covered with a black kerchief. He appeared to be a messenger from the desert, but his presence was much more powerful than that of a mere messenger. The strange horseman drew an enormous curved sword from a scabbard mounted on his saddle. The steel of its blade glittered in the light of the moon. Who dares to read the meaning of the flight of the hawks? He demanded. So loudly his words seemed to echo through the 50,000 palm trees of Al Fayoum. It is I who dare to do so, said the boy. He was reminded of the image of Santiago Matamoros mounted on a white horse with the infidels beneath his hooves. This man looked exactly the same, except now that the roles were reversed. It is I who dare to do so, he repeated, and he lowered his head to receive a blow from the sword. Many lives will be saved because I was able to see through to the soul of the world. The sword didn't fall. Instead, the stranger lowered it slowly until the point touched the boy's forehead. It drew a droplet of blood. The horseman was completely immobile, as was the boy. It didn't even occur to the boy to flee. In his heart, he felt a strange sense of joy. He was about to die in pursuit of his personal legend, and for Fatima. The omens had been true after all. Here he was, face to face with his enemy, but there was no need to be concerned about dying. The soul of the world awaited him, and he would soon be a part of it. And tomorrow his enemy would also be a part of that soul. The stranger continued to hold the sword at the boy's forehead. Why did you read The Flight of the Birds? I only read what the birds wanted to tell me. They wanted to save the oasis. Tomorrow all of you will die because there are more men at the oasis than you have. The sword remained where it was. Who are you to change what Allah has willed? Allah created the armies, and He also created the hawks. Allah taught me the language of the birds. Everything has been written by the same hand, the boy said, remembering the camel driver's words. The stranger withdrew the sword from the boy's forehead, and the boy felt immensely relieved. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. You just keep going and going. You guys are just incredible. And that voice. Thank you so much, Amma. Thank you for, and she woke up very early for us. It was like 4:30 where she was in the morning. So yes, thank you. God bless you. And we'll see you backstage. My goodness. Wow. Did you feel the power behind that? And that's just the English version. Now I'm referring to it as just the English version because I feel like the Swahili has all of the power now, right? So let us go and hear Mr. Ali read to us this same version. And please, if you have the English version, just kind of hold it and listen to what he's saying in Swahili. I think it will carry so much power in that way. All righty, here we go. Number 5.
Kiswahili narration 5, pages 115, 117. Ghafla alisikia kishindo cha sauti, akajikuta ametupwa chini ardhini na upepo uliokuwa na mvumo wa ajabu asiowahi kushuhudia. Eneo lile lilitifuliwa na mzunguko mkali ajabu wa vumbi, kiasi cha kuyaziba mandhari ya mwezi. Mbele yake alisimama farasi mweupe mkubwa ajabu, akimuinulia miguu yake ya mbele, akilia mlio wa kuogofya. Vumbi lilomziba macho lilipofukutika na kutulia kidogo, Santiago alikumbwa na mtetemeko kuona taswira iliyomfunukia mbele yake. Miguu iliyojipachika kila ubavu wa farasi ilikuwa ya barobaro aliyevalia mavazi meusi TTT, huku kipanga kitulia juu ya bega lake la kushoto. Alivaa kilemba na sura yake nzima ilizibwa na kitambaa cheusi isipokuwa macho yake. Alionekana kama tarishi wa jangwa, lakini mandhari yake yalijenga taswira yenye nguvu kubwa kuliko tarishi tu. Yule mpanda farasi wa ajabu alifutua jambia kubwa lenye pindo kutoka ala iliyojipachika ubavuni mwake katika kikalio cha yule farasi. Ubapa wa chuma cha pua uling'arishwa na miale ya mbalamwezi. Nani anayethubutu kufasiri maana ya ruwaza ya kupaa kwa mwewe? Alinguruma kwa sauti kuu kiasi cha kuyafanya maneno yake yarindime na kudunda kama mwangwi uliopenya katikati ya michikichi 50,000 ya tende ya jicho la Alfayum. Ni mimi niliyejasiri kufanya hivyo, alitamka Santiago. Alikumbushwa taswira ya Santiago Matamoros aliyepanda farasi mweupe na makafiri wakiwa chini ya kwata zake. Huyu mwanamume alikuwa chapa moja, isipokuwa majukumu yalikuwa yamepinduka kinyume chake. Ni mimi niliyethubutu kufanya hivyo, Santiago alijibu na aliinamisha kichwa apate pigo la lile jambia. Maisha ya wengi yatanusurika kwa sababu nimeweza kuona kupitiliza roho kuu ya ulimwengu. Jambia hakupiga. Badala yake yule mtu wa ajabu aliteremsha taratibu mpaka ncha yake ikatua na kuligusa paji la kichwa cha Santiago, likachuruzisha tone la damu. Yule mpanda farasi hakutukusika hata kidogo, naye Santiago vivyo hivyo hakutingishika, wala wazo la kujitorosha halikumpiga Santiago. Moyoni mwake alihisi hisia ngeni za furaha. Kifo kilimkabili nukta chache tu kutokana na msako wake wa kudra yake ya kibinafsi na kwa ajili ya Fatma. Ishara zilikuwa na ukweli. Hatimaye sasa alikuwa akikabiliana ana kwa ana na adui yake, lakini hapakuwa na haja ya kuwa na dukuduku la kifo. Roho kuu ya ulimwengu ilimngojea, na pindi angekuwa sehemu yake, na kesho yake adui yake vile vile angekuwa sehemu ya roho kuu ile ile. Yule mpanda farasi aliendelea kutuliza ncha ya jambia lake kwenye paji la kichwa cha Santiago. Kwa nini ulifasiri nyendo za ruwaza ya kupaa kwa ndege? Nilifasiri tu kile walichotaka ndege kuniambia. Walitaka kuliokoa eneo la jicho. Kesho nyote mtakufa kwa sababu jicho lina mabarobaro wengi kushinda idadi ya vikosi vyenu. Jambia lilibaki pale pale. Wewe ni nani? Kufuta kile Allah aliumba majeshi na vile vile aliumba mwewe. Allah amenifunza lugha ya ndege. Kila kitu kimeandikwa kwa mkono ule ule, Santiago alitamka akikumbuka kauli ya mwendesha ngamia. Yule mpanda farasi aliondoa jambia lake kutoka paji la kichwa cha Santiago na dukuduku la hofu lilimyeyuka.
Oh my God, I feel like doing a bra and just giving him a standing ovation. And you know, how do we even, it's so exciting. It's so exciting. And just when we were listening to all of this, we have Nana Redamwa here, who is a publisher himself from out of West Africa, Ghana. And he says, loving this, we'll link up with Moran later and see how we can collaborate via the Book Nook Store. Now, Book Nook Store is like the Amazon of West Africa. So if we have Mualkemia over on the Book Nook Store, you know we've made it. And so this is what the book launch has done for us. Samuel, I want you to take notes, take his name down, and maybe later we will do some interactions together and see how best we can make this happen for our West African readers. Oh my God. And with this hat, I am going to bring onto the stage, because now we get to do the most important thing that we came here to do as Africans, to launch this book officially and declare it officially launched. In fact, I wish I knew how to sing the Kenyan national anthem, or if there was a patriotic song in Swahili, we could all sing together. Since we don't have that, we're going to bring to you our producer. She is an incredible woman, Elsie Dixon. She's a lawyer herself, so that's something she has in common with Mr. Coelho. But she's also an ardent reader, incredible, ferocious reader, and she reads in 2 languages. So hello, and she's on and just officially from To My Younger Self and to the rest of the world, declare this book officially launched. What that means is the moment she says we declare it launched, you're gonna jump on your phones, you're gonna jump on your tablets, wherever you make purchases, you're gonna type into the search engine Moran Publishers, and you're gonna go and purchase the book. Do we have a deal? And if we do, let me please bring to you Elsie Dixon. You're welcome.
Thank you so much. What an amazing morning, evening, afternoon we have had. I have just been stuck here, taking it all in, enjoying the cadence of the Swahili language. Mr. Ali Attas, can you please start some online Swahili lessons? I think you've got a few ardent students waiting to sign up.
Sure.
Thank you so much as well, Mr. Nganga. This has been incredible. I read a quote, 2 quotes actually, that fit really well with what I'm about to do. One of them is by Vivek Shambag, and she says, I believe the essence of translation lies in taking what is unsaid in a work from one language to another. Words have memories, a history of their own. There are no 2 words with exactly the same meaning. To recreate the unspoken in another language, one needs to understand what went into making the original. Then one must dismantle it and rebuild it in another language. And that's exactly what you have done, gentlemen. I salute you.
Absolutely.
And this makes
Thank you.
what I have even more profound because it says writers make national literature while translators make universal literature. And that's by Jose Saramago. I think that's exactly what you gentlemen have done. It's taken blood, sweat, and tears. We're sitting here enjoying the fruit of your labor. On behalf of everybody listening and all the Swahili speaking people who will be reading this book, I salute you and I say thank you very much to you and your team. And obviously we salute Mr. Coelho for writing an incredible tome. I can't wait to see what else comes out of your stables, Mr. Attas and Mr. Nganga. I also advocate for that audiobook because I enjoyed listening to your voice reading that. And so with that, it is my privilege to declare that the Swahili translation of The Alchemist is formally launched. Congratulations.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes, it is launched, and I hope that yes. Oh my God, the chat room is blowing up now. Yes, indeed, we salute you. There is so many people saying hooray. There's clapping. There's congratulations. Guys, you made it, and we are so grateful that you made us a part of this process at the end. Now we're going to go and just say a few thank yous on the other side, and when we come back, you both will give us your last thoughts, and we will be done with today's lunch. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Good. Elsie,
yes.
For coming, and we will see you backstage. Thank you so much for launching us. My goodness, it is so exciting. I am so excited. I don't even know why. I can't sit still. But let me tell you, let me say a few thank yous. The entire team at Moran Publishers, I want to say thank you, most especially to Naima Kasim. I don't know if you're watching, but Naima, I thank you. Just interacting with you, emailing with you, everything was very seamless from your end. Thank you so much. She was so responsive and very dedicated to this project. Naima, if you're watching, thank you. This launch would not have been possible without the foresight and, of course, the help and diligent responsiveness of Gemma Capdevila. I hope I said your name right, Gemma. Of San Jordi Asociados Agencia Literaria. Listen, I probably did not get that right. Gemma is part of Mr. Coelho's agents team. It was Gemma who, when at first I reached out to Mr. Coelho through an email, because I do that, to just invite him onto My Younger Self to tell us some stories. And even though the response was, well, he wishes he could have been here, but he's a little busy at the moment. She came back and she said, how about if you help us launch this? And don't you know, we jumped on it because we are Africa and we are Swahili in this moment, right? And so, Gemma, thank you so much for simply being you. Working with you has been one of the easiest experiences for me. You were so on point all the time. Here is much more on the horizon for you. And by extension, of course, we want to say thank you to Mr. Coelho as well for writing such an important book. Abaketo Under, I want to say thank you to you. She brought and rallied a lot of the readers we got today in the English version. And so thank you so much for doing that. She's also part of our book club, and she kind of, made sure that in this season, our book club was reading The Alchemist, so I could go back and get reacquainted with the storyline and all that. Incredible person. Thank you. The team at To My Younger Self. My goodness, you guys, when things weren't working, you were still flowing. You were flowing with ideas, editing, all kinds of stuff. Sumaya, I thank you for your technical know-how, your communicative skills. Elsie Dixon as producer, I thank you. Yidana Kobigbila, I thank you. You guys were so on point. I just want to say thank you for being here. And of course, to our audience everywhere in the world, we want to say thank you for being a part of this incredible history-making process we enjoyed today. Of course, our audience out there, you guys are the real MVPs today because you showed up. And not only did you show up, you participated, you enjoyed, and you helped us launch an incredible, very important translation of this book. And of course, lastly, to Mr. Attas, I want to say thank you for taking the initiative. Thank you for going through the process. I know it must have been a lot of challenges, a lot of tears and frustrations, much like Santiago. You probably tried to give up a couple of times, but you didn't. You stayed the course. And because of you, we are here today. Samuel, I want to thank you for taking up the mantle after it was translated, you and your team, editing and going back and forth. It has been an incredible journey. And we are glad to be here celebrating this with you. All protocols observed. I want to say thank you for being here. Congratulations, gentlemen. Listen, there's so many congratulatory messages coming through. We cannot show them all. So yes, we're just going to kind of just keep it rolling. And Jama, I get so excited every time I see you. I love you. It is so incredible. You're an incredible woman. All righty. Mr. Attas or Ali, what is the last thing you would like to say to us? And then after that, actually, let's do it this way. Samuel first, and then Mr. Attas will be last.
Okay. Thank you, once again for enabling this. It's actually been a fantastic launch. So we thank you and your team at To My Younger Self for working hard to ensure that this became a success. And of course, we cannot forget Gema and the team rather in Spain, representing Paulo Coelho. We thank you, the team, again for their contribution towards the success of this event. And to our audience, I also thank all of them for being part of this, and I invite them to Moran's website so that they can have more of what we do here in Nairobi. Thank you very much.
Wow, Kenyans for the win today. All right, Ali, here we go. Let's hear you for the last time.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to express my thank you and gratitude for creating this platform to talk about the translation, and to thank you for the way you have run the program very enthusiastically and professionally. Also to thank Samuel Nganga for having edited this book professionally. And I hope that just like the book fulfilled a dream for me, I hope that those who watched this program will make a dream tonight to read the story. So go ahead and buy the book.
Exactly. Go ahead and buy the book. And as Africans, let us all start to collaborate. I love to see this because there's just been some collaborations happening. So thank you. We're not going to do all the housekeeping we normally do because I know the gentlemen here are very busy and we want to release them to go. So just check our website and our webpage. I'm prophesying now, but check us out on Facebook and you will see all the housekeeping there later in the week. Okay. And so from Ali in Japan and from Samuel in Kenya and from me in New York, we want to say thank you for joining us. It has been an incredible pleasure being a part of this process, and also to my younger self, we want to say we love you, audience. We will see you next week with another version of To My Younger Self, where we tell stories. Bye-bye. We love you so very much. Bye, guys. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Kaja Israel, kaba Egypt, kaja Ethiopia, kaja Sudan, waja shong. Kaja Ikushima, wani me kona me waja shong. So Timbuktu, Ghana, Mali, Sumanguru, waja shong. Waja jage, waja shong. Timbuktu, Ghana, Mali, Sumanguru, waja shong. Manchester key, Sumanguru, walk where waja shong. What's that to do?